So going back on the whole thing of you being locked in on the fighters, I have to ask you the second most asked question you've probably been asked. But up until this point, considering you are so locked in on the fighters when you announce them, what is the most memorable announcement you've ever made? And it doesn't have to be like you're saying it's the best fighter or the most important fighter or anything like that. But what's the most memorable where you were just like you'll never forget that moment, be it because it's who it was or the situation or whatever. Like, what is the most memorable fight announcement you've made?
Well, actually, Mike, there's been so many I've probably forgotten more than I can remember. I can only give you examples of a couple. I can't tell you the most exciting. Sure, when I did the 360 in front of Brock Lesnar announcing him at UFC 100, that was very exciting for me to pull that off after all the build-up and fanfare from Joe Rogan and the fans over 6 months on the internet. And realizing when I came out of the corner of Frank Mir after announcing him, walking over to that monster Brock Lesnar, and left side of my brain said to the right side of my brain, if I don't pull a 360 off right now, I'm going to be the bitch of the internet on Monday on the forums, right? So it came off, and pardon my English, but it came off, and it worked out really well, and that was a memorable moment. And there was one time with Randy Couture, it was in Portland, Oregon, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was fighting Nogueira, I forget. I gave Nogueira a big bounce, and then I went over to Randy, and Randy, a couple weeks before, we were in an airport together, and he said to me, Buff, this may be my last fight, right? And I thought, wow, the great Randy Couture, this is his last fight. And I did something I've never done for anybody, and I announced him, and then I got down on one knee, and I to him like he was royalty.
Wow.
Right? And that was a very emotional and memorable moment for me, for all my experiences with Randy Couture, who I think personally is one of the greatest role models in UFC and mixed martial arts history. Not just the way he handled himself inside fighting, but also the way he handled himself outside the octagon. Because to be a great role model, it's not about just how well you fight. It's about how you handle yourself outside. And we've seen people grow to great star status and then ruin their star status doing stupid, illegal stuff, right? I'm not going to mention any names. And losing respect of half their countrymen or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And then they still go on to riches because half the people want to see them lose and half the people want to see them win. But half the people, not everybody views those individuals as role models, right?
Right.
So I think living in the society that we live in now, which is kind of here in America, a decaying society of morality, I am very big on people that really handle themselves well in and out of the octagon. And other announcements, Chuck Liddell, when I knew it was going to be like his last fight or had a feeling for it, these are things that mean a lot to me because I get to create great relationships and friendships with the fighters as you and I have done. And maybe not many with as much as we've done, but when I see them and I see all they put into it, putting their blood, sweat, and tears on the line and realizing everything it means to them, I get emotional over that too. And it means a lot to me. And that's why I want to enhance those moments as much as I can. I could go back and give you another 10 different announcements, Mike, but it's impossible to say one is above everything. It really is.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from such a simple perspective of just a couple big fights that are out there and you were in the center of the octagon for, but I can imagine you've done so many and you have so many, you base it on so many different things. It's not the same as everybody else when you do it every single, every UFC event, however many fights an event, that's a lot for you. It takes a lot to wow you probably.
Well, you got to think about it too, Mike. There's we're at UFC 250, whatever, 52, 53 coming up, part 252.
I think so.
I think
so. It's so
you got that, and you got twice as many fight night shows. So let's say you're talking about, I've probably announced at least 800 shows, UFC's alone, right?
Yeah.
And there's always an average of 12 fights a show.
That's many.
That's almost 10,000 fights, Mike. It's going to be very hard for me to remember. I've done this for 25 years, almost, come next February. So, I can even go back to Bombaye, Inoki's event 2003 in Kobe, Japan, and announcing Fedor that night and a 205-pound Overeem walking in, right, with his big hammer and all. There's so many great nights and so many memories. I'm so lucky to have, been involved in the sport basically from its inception to a large extent.